Hello to everyone watching. My hope with all our studying is not only for those who are married to have better marriages, but also for those who are not married to think twice about their intended spouse, to look back at everything that we will read and have read, and really consider and compare that person to what God expects, and also to honestly judge ourselves whether we are married or not. Are we what God wants us to be? If I'm not what God wants me to be, should I even form a home, an Adventist home? May you be blessed as we continue our studying, and may you find something relevant for you as we read together. Chapter 6. Hello, everybody. We can summarize this one sentence: before marriage. And that is why the Adventist Home is a good book to read before you get married, before you even find someone to cast your eye on. This is the book, one of the books besides the Bible, that we need to look at and study deeply before we ever go out and think we are ready to find a life partner. So this is one of the chapters that deals with that kind of thing. What to look for. Is the person right? What if he's not right? What is dating? Well, it doesn't actually discuss dating, but dating is not something really that the Bible or the spirit of prophecy deal with. Your aim when you get into that relationship is we are going to eventually marry. And so your relationship will be like a courtship. And then you will get engaged and then you'll get married. But before marriage, you don't have to keep that one person who you're courting. You can and should break up with them if something happens, if there's a red flag or 2 or 3 that tell you something is not right with this person. For me, this chapter is red flags. For me personally, for the people I know, it's red flags. So I'll give you some things that I can just think of off the top of my head, which are not written in here, just as guidance. Long distance, like specifically or especially someone you don't know, I would never advise you to enter into an online relationship unless God Himself has directed you to that person. Online, we can present ourselves as anything. We will lie. We will say we've only slept with 10 people, but really we've slept with 12 or 10 or 20. Online is not real. It's not a real relationship. You don't get to see how they react to certain provocations. It's easy to not have a temper if I'm trying to seduce you, if I'm flirting with you. But if we are together, physically together, I can see how you react to the policeman who stops you to do a traffic check. I can see how you react if we're going out to dinner and how you treat the waitress if she drops something on you, or the waiter. There are things that being with someone will reveal to you that will never be revealed through an online relationship. People lie. If our own sisters, brothers, aunts lie to us, how much more a man or a woman whose only aim is to get you to marry them? Of course they're going to be lying. Okay, not of course, but the chances are even higher than even a face-to-face relationship that they're lying. The beauty with knowing someone for a long time is that you know their weaknesses. You know how they act when they're not wooing you specifically. So if you've been going to the same church for many years, you know them in and out. And then if that person suddenly says to you, I would really like to know you better. I would really like you to one day perhaps become my wife. Whatever they do during your courtship, you already also have the years of experience that you had with them when they were not trying to impress you. They were not trying to impress you. They were just living their life. And that is the difference. Someone who's after you because they're trying to impress you already is a problem. There are things they will hide. And if they're distant, then it's even easier to hide those things. What is different is if you got engaged or you began your courtship and then you split up and go in different directions. That's different. We had a young man in our university. I want to just move this back a bit. We had a young man we used to sing with, and he was from Kenya. Everybody knew Gladys is waiting for him in Kenya. He was here at UCT, University of Cape Town. But we all knew Mwanza Museti is taken, his heart is with Gladys, and now everybody, we all knew he's just our buddy, he's our friend, he's our brother. He made it abundantly clear, my heart is only for one woman. That is a very good man to have. And if I'd known her before I met her after their marriage, I would have told her, man, your guy is solid. He never ever did anything. He didn't look around for any woman. He wanted only you. His thoughts are about you. On the other hand, there's a young lady in another country where they lived in totally different provinces, so they hardly saw each other, maybe once or twice a year. She thought he loved her, and he wanted a pure girl, until on TikTok, she sees a different girl posting her boyfriend and all the fun they've been having. That's the problem. Distance means a lot can be hidden. When he's not with you, you don't know who he's with. I mean, even now, if my husband tells me he's gone bowling with his friends or with his colleagues like he did go-karting last week, can I really say he went go-karting with his colleagues last week? Forget the fact that I think go-karting with colleagues is really stupid because they spend all day together anyway. They work, but we won't go into that. I don't mix business with pleasure. It already crosses a line where you become too familiar with each other in a non-formal setting, but that's a whole other story. And of course, there are offices. The church had offices. People of opposite genders did mix. So it's not like I'm saying people should only work with people of the same gender. But when you start mixing pleasure with it, it's dangerous. So yeah, he could be lying. Even now, when we're living together, he could be lying. So I'm not saying you will be, it's foolproof. But there's a higher chance that this person is only trying to impress you. There's a higher chance that there's lots that you're missing that you don't see because you can't see it. I might get into some of that as we continue with the chapter. So for me, it's red flags. Chapter 6, choosing the life partner. First paragraph, 43.1. If those who are contemplating marriage would not have miserable, unhappy reflections after marriage, they must make it a subject of serious, earnest reflection now. Before. This step taken unwisely is one of the most effective means of ruining the usefulness of young men and women. The part that I highlighted is life becomes a burden, a curse. No one can so effectually ruin a woman's happiness and usefulness and make life a heart-sickening burden as her own husband. Some of you girls, you think marriage gives you happiness. It doesn't. Marriage can give you a lifetime of heartache and heart soreness, living a life of pain, misery, loneliness, depression, abuse, physical or mental, psychological. There's a lot that our faces are hiding as we're married people. You will see all of us at church, we sit next to our husbands, but very few of you realize that there's a lot going on in the background that the husbands and wives are going through. And they might be sitting next to each other at church, but at home they might as well be in different worlds. And one of them is miserable. In this particular line, we're talking about women. Right. To live constantly unhappy is a burden that takes a lot out of a woman. I can't quantify the level of pain that you can go through. I've actually told a friend of mine, I'd rather you never got married. So many people have had so many different problems, and all those problems have had permanent and still ongoing consequences on them. It's not like the unhappiness ends and everyone is happy again. So many of the couples have ongoing heartache, ongoing suffering, ongoing lack of support from both sides, husband and wife. Point is, marriage is not a certificate to happiness. Please, I beg you, marry God first. Marry God first. Know Him. Know His will. Study everything you can study. Love Him. Be comfortable with Him only. And then, in the fear of God, then open your heart up. What happens too often is we love the human before we have realized how to love God fully. And then we want the human to complete us. God completes us. God is He's our other half. He's our husband. God is our husband. We are His bride. The other is an extra. Don't look for marriage to get happiness. Be happy and then get married. And no one can do 100th part as much to chill the hopes and aspirations of a man, to paralyze his energies and ruin his influence and prospects as his own wife. This I can see mostly, especially amongst pastors and elders. If you can't run, as the Bible says, if you can't run your own household, how are you going to run the church? If we can see that your wife is not submitting and you're saying good things, why would we submit to you? And the Bible does say you should be ruling your household well. So if she is now messing up his influence, reducing his influence, she also takes away his usefulness, just like the man in the line above takes away the usefulness of the woman. We can each cause each other unintended consequences that have a huge bearing, not only on us, but on the family and society. It is from the marriage hour that many men and women date their success or failure in this life and their hopes of the future life. I believe, for me, growing up, the church, they always said, the spirit of prophecy says this, but they never actually told us, young people, read these books. Young people, this is the kind of spouse you should have. They never taught us. And so we just went along looking at movies. I watched movies, I read books. I looked for that. I didn't look for godly principles at all. And many of us, we found these books after we'd already given our hearts to a human. And as was mentioned today at church, people have counseling, but they won't listen to the counsel given them. When they've given their heart to the human and they've not given their heart to God supremely, then they won't listen to they won't care about the red flags. They will go on. And then 10 years down the line, they're absolutely miserable. Listen to those red flags. And as I said again, check your relationship with God first. Let Him be your one. 43.3. A sincere Christian will not advance his plans in this direction without the knowledge that God approves his course. Okay. Sincere Christian. Not every Christian is a Christian. Not every Christian is a true Christian. And not every Christian is sincere. If you call yourself a sincere Christian, you will ask, God, do you really approve of this? I see the flaws. Now we're going to talk about the other, because it's about choosing a partner. So it's not about you anymore. They must also judge you. But when you look at that person, do you really believe God is blessing you and saying, this is the one for you? Ask that. Seriously ask it. We are not to please ourselves, for Christ pleased not himself. I would not be understood to mean that anyone is to marry one whom he does not love. This would be sin. So we want to please God. Our marriages, we marry because we want to please God. And so we choose someone who lives according to God's will and way. But it doesn't mean we must just choose anybody who lives according to God's will. We should still feel drawn to them. There should still be romanticism or romantic feeling, some kind of attraction to them. It doesn't mean that you have to just be all logical, that, okay, you meet all the criteria, let's get married. No, there should still be love. .1. Many seem to think about marriage that it is the attainment of perfect bliss. I'll stop there. That's what I thought. I thought when I was a child, I would see all the married couples, they'd be happy together. Some would be coming out their cars and they just look happy. I assumed that marriage was the cause of their happiness. Sometimes people aren't actually even happily married. They're just happy because they're at church. They're just happy because that's the face they've learned to put on. Marriage is not the attainment of perfect bliss. So, if they could know 1/4 of the heartaches of men and women that are bound by the marriage vows in chains that they cannot and dare not break, they would not be surprised that I trace these lines. Here is the problem. You dare not and cannot break the chain, because according to the Bible, the only reason for divorce is if your husband or wife commits adultery. God doesn't give space for if you're always arguing, you can divorce. God doesn't say if he's always mean to you and hurting you, you can divorce. God doesn't say if she always demeans you and takes away your authority in front of the children, you can divorce. We are trapped. When we get married, we are trapped unless the other party goes out and is unfaithful. Think about that. Think about it long and hard. So I believe it too. I know it too. If people could know all the things I know about marriage, even just 1/4 of the things I know about married couples who put nice pictures on and look married, happy because of the pictures they post, giving the wrong impression. If people knew the reality, they would be shocked and hopefully they would think twice. Don't ever tell yourself, it can't happen to me. I'll tell you a story about Grace. Grace knew her husband-to-be was godly. And so, yes, all these other people cheat. Never her. It would never happen to her. She would read comments saying online, yeah, you think he loves you, but you don't know what he's doing behind your back. Grace would be totally sure, nah, my husband's not like that. He loves me. He's given me access to his email. I trust him. That was Grace. Grace later finds out it was all based on a lie. You see, Grace trusted so much that she never did go into the email. She was happy enough to have the access. I mean, why would I tell you go into my email if I am lying and doing things via email? It's a very good psychological trick. And so Grace went on thinking her husband was not like everyone else. And even her friends would tell her that. Grace once asked a friend of hers that, why is it that you keep letting your husband hang out with all these girls? And she said, I've seen too many men cheating. At least if he cheats and sleeps with those girls, he won't come back with AIDS. They don't have HIV. But she told Grace, but Grace, don't worry, your man is different. They all believed that, but it was a lie. It was a bald-faced lie, and Grace joined the ranks of all the miserable marriages. Don't ever, ever have the pride, so much pride, that you think it could never happen to me. You're not special. No one is special. Marriage, in a majority of cases, is a most galling yoke. And I want you to focus on that word, on those two words. First, she said many marriages, and now she said in a majority of cases, it's a galling yoke. I pray that you will be in the minority, but the majority, they might not be divorced, but in their hearts, they are divorced. They're not one at all. There are thousands that are mated, but not matched. The books of heaven are burdened with the woes, the wickedness, and the abuse that lie under the marriage mantle. Though you may not be able to divorce, if you are one of those who is trapped, God is writing it down. God will avenge your suffering. God sees you and He just asks you to be faithful and patient. Wait for Him. God loves you. God wants you to have a good spouse. So the fact that you don't, it hurts God. You are the apple of His eye, and God will avenge you of the pain and the woes that you are undergoing. The path of married life may appear beautiful and full of happiness, but why may not you be disappointed as thousands of others have been? Don't go into it blindly. The first red flag, I would tell you, just run. The first red flag, run. Those who are contemplating marriage should consider what will be the character and influence of the home they are founding. Marriage isn't only about getting a man to sleep with or a girl to sleep with you and forever you wake up in bed together, and it's not. Marriage is also about the greater influence you will have. Is this person really the good influence they should be? What impact will they have? And then should I be linked to someone who will have that kind of impact? 44.3. Take heed lest what you now think to be pure gold turns out to be base metal. Worldly associations tend to place obstructions in the way of your service to God, and many souls are ruined by unhappy unions, either business or matrimonial, with those who can never elevate or ennoble. We are looking for men. We are looking for women who will elevate us, ennoble us, not make us rich, not help us live in fancy areas, but people who will lift us higher, call us to a higher standard, God's standard. That's what we're looking for, not someone who will make us happy. And when you're stuck with someone who traps you, there are ways you cannot serve God. As I said, in the example of the elder, he can't be an elder if he's got an unsubmissive wife. God said so. The wife can't teach everything she'd want to teach if her husband is not true. There's a lot that you can't do once you have a marriage that is not according to God's will. Okay, I had written a note that just know what Christianity is. Study what true Christianity is and watch the person you're thinking of. Compare them to Christianity. Don't compare them to what you are looking for. Compare them to Christ and His law. And if they aren't exactly where they should be, do they want to be there? Are they attempting to be there? Not everyone can be exactly the same, but we're all headed in the same direction because there's only one path. Are they walking on that path? If they are, good. Weigh every sentiment and watch every development of character in the one with whom you think to link your life destiny. Last line, while you may love, do not love blindly. Well, we fail here. We've been brainwashed. I don't know about the current generation, but we've been brainwashed as women especially, that when you forgive, it means take them back. We've equated forgiveness with renewing and reinforcing or reliving the past. Forgiveness doesn't mean that. Forgiveness is I free myself of the pain you've caused me. Go and live in peace. I hold no bitterness against you, but go. That's forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't, oh, I have to now keep you again as my girlfriend. Grace. Grace. We were all close as girls, and we're all married now. But yes, Grace didn't watch every development, didn't watch his character, mainly because she didn't know that she should. In our day and age, we really were not studying the Adventist home at all. So she didn't know, and he was a liar. Again, that's why I say to you, if people can lie to you to your face, how much more someone who's trying to woo you and is far away. So Grace, he would flirt with girls. She didn't like it. And he would tell her, but we're dating. When we're dating, it's okay to flirt. She was too stupid and young and naive to think, no, that's not true. But he, there are some people who are psychological abusers and they gaslight you into making you think that you are the one who's wrong. So he's like, no, what then is the point of getting married if I'm already acting married? I can flirt, but I'm not doing anything with them. They know you're my girlfriend. But he sure didn't show them that. They knew by name, but it's like me. If I go and cheat with, I don't know, Brother Moss knows I'm married, but his knowledge doesn't mean anything. He still cheats with me. And that's what happens. So Grace had a boyfriend, and he loved to be nice to girls, too nice. And it bothered her. But she didn't realize that this is part of his character. His character is to be the knight in shining armor for all the girls, which meant he would never, ever place her in his heart as the one, the only one. If he couldn't do that when he was trying to woo her, why would he do that when he's caught her? So I'm begging you, think about that. If your boyfriend is making any excuse, or your girlfriend, to not be really true to you, to not stop doing things that make you uncomfortable, break it off. If they can't regard your feelings now, they won't regard them when you're married either. So the character, if the character is like Christ's, they will surrender themselves. They will die for you. So they won't want to be flirting with other girls. People, it was bad. You would see Grace's boyfriend at church when we were still students. He would be giving his sweatshirt to other girls, not Grace. The other girls would ask, hey, can I please wear your top? I'm cold. And he would give it to them. Now, as we are adults, we realize, we know that's wrong. But she was too naive, too stupid, and she believed him. One of the other conversations they had, he did say to her, no, don't worry. When I'm married, I'll be different. I will be different, I promise. Men and women break promises every single day. If your person, your spouse, your girl, your man, if they ever tell you, after this, then I will become what you want me to be, don't bother. Because if they truly love you more than they love themselves, like Christ loved the church more than he loves himself, he will change, she will stop whatever is hurting you now. It's not true love if they want you to keep suffering, because that's really what they're telling you. They're telling you, you will keep being hurt, deal with my hurting you until you're married, then I'll stop. And Grace's husband didn't stop. Let the question, this is 45.2, let the questions be raised. Will this union help me heavenward? Will it increase my love for God? And will it enlarge my sphere of usefulness in this life? Usefulness, that means working for God, not usefulness in terms of being Miss South Africa or whatever. It's working for God. Can you really work for God bound to this person? Will they help you? Will they support you? Will they walk and work with you? Ask yourself that question. Again, people can lie. People can lie. People will pretend to be what you want them to be just so they can trap you. That is the sad part, and that is the part that I tell my friends, I would rather you just never got married, because they'll present themselves a certain way, but it's not real. They're just presenting themselves that way. They may pretend they are godly. They will tell you they read whatever chapter of the Bible this morning. They will stand up front and preach, but their heart is far from God. With their mouths, with their lips, they praise Him, but their hearts are far from God. That is the sad thing. People are liars. People are not sincere. People are not genuine. How in the world will you know if they are making or are fruit or creating fruit that looks right? I mean, they look like a vineyard. They look like a vine. They claim they're grafted onto the grapevine Christ, and they seem to be producing grapes. There will be red flags. There will be other red flags. Watch out for them and listen to the warning. So, will it help you heavenward? What are his views? What are her views really? Do they want you to keep reforming, transforming? Or do they feel embarrassed if you do reform, transform? Do they think you're too much in this whole reform thing? Do they stop you from doing things you should do? Do they stop you from doing things you believe are what God wants because they don't think it's necessary? That is someone who's hindering your walk with God. Your walk with God is between you and Him, not between you and the person. They should never get in the middle of your walk with God. I will end here for now, 45.3. But few have moved with high motives and with elevated considerations which they could not lightly throw off. That society had claims upon them, that the weight of their family's influence would tell in the upward or downward scale. We get married for ourselves. That is so, honestly, we do. I never thought, okay, will our influence help people to get to heaven? Will our influence elevate people? Will we reach and make people go higher? I mean, we all think we're marrying godly people, except you don't know what godly actually is. And so we do think, oh, well, they're elevated. We do go along with, we think they're elevated, they're godly. But are they really? We need to, I'm going to keep saying this, study the word and be ready to surrender, to rather be lonely and happy than to be married and unhappy. Maybe I'll continue here. The choice of a life companion should be such as best to secure physical, mental, and spiritual well-being for parents and for their children, such as will enable both parents and children to bless their fellow men and to honor their Creator. As Seventh-day Adventists, one of the big pillars of our message is the health message, how to be healthy, how to make sure that our brain is not clogged up, our arteries not clogged up with cholesterol, how to ensure that our bodies are in peak condition and our minds clear. And one of those things is what we eat, what we put in our mouths. Is this person aligned to what God says? If they're not aligned with what God says, what impact will that then have on the children? If they don't love what God loves, that will definitely confuse the children and help lead them in the wrong direction. We already have society leading our children in the wrong direction. We already have pastors, preachers, people in the church leading our children in the wrong direction. Don't marry the person and bring them into your home so that even home leads your children in the wrong direction. Really ask yourself if they will bless your children. Will they be a source of mental, physical, and spiritual well-being? And think about it. If you as a family are meant to bless society, you're not meant to live only for yourselves. As I keep saying, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect example, but I'm the only example I know and trust. One of the things I used to do in the beginning was to carry or keep food in the car, like apples, stuff like that, so that if we come across a homeless person begging, I would tell the children, pass this and give it to the homeless person. Will your spouse, will your partner support you in teaching your children to be God's hands? Or will they think you're being crazy? Will they mock you? Will they laugh at you? Will they demean your efforts? Will they tell you, you can't save the whole world? Or you're wasting our money on these people? Will they support you? Involve your children. They need to learn from a young age that they are part of God's family, and therefore they also need to do his work. But then we also need to be sure that the partner that we find will be the kind of husband or wife who will encourage and even give more ideas for what you can do as a family to bless society. Ask, what are their primary goals in life? 45.5. Let a young man seek one to stand by his side who is fitted to bear her share of life's burdens. Not some lazy namby-pamby girl who's always been served. She should be a hard worker. She should be strong, unless she's sick, but she should be willing to work, wanting to work and working. Not lazy and wanting to be served. One whose influence will ennoble and refine him, and who will make him happy in her love. I also know the other opposite though. So yes, you must look for a wife who will influence you upward, who will make you say, oh, God, your standard is high. Help me to go higher. You need that in a wife. That is part of her job, to ennoble you, to make you nobler, to give you more integrity, to make you holier. That is the purpose of a wife. But I've also seen where the man kicks back at the wife when she's trying to make him noble. So he did look for a noble wife, but then it turned out she didn't actually really want her to be noble, nor to want him to be noble. That is a problem. If you also are one of those who's faking it, you're also going to end up in trouble, because if you're faking wanting a godly woman, she will expect you to be godly. And if she is godly, she will demand of you that you be godly. She will remind you, she is your keeper. Ezekiel does tell us, if you don't warn the wicked man that is dying, he's going to die, his blood will be on your hands. So if for any other reason, besides the fact that she loves you and wants you to go to heaven, she will also warn you so that God will never say to her, why didn't you do your job? Ennoble him, you didn't. So you're in trouble if you want someone who's godly, but then you don't want to be godly. You won't be happy being reminded that this is the standard, let's walk towards it. And it goes for both genders. There are women who don't want to be pulled up and made higher and elevated towards God, even though they married a man who they wanted because he's godly. 46.1, it talks about Proverbs. It mentions the Proverbs verses, but the one I highlighted was, her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. This stood out because it's one of those complaints many of us have, and it was again also mentioned at church. Continue the things you used to do. Woo her. Don't be nice to her and romantic only because you're trying to catch her. Be nice to her and romantic because you love her. And if you love her, that will continue throughout all the years of your marriage. You will love each other, you'll be affectionate, you'll be romantic, and you will praise her. You will support her. You will be thankful for the things she does. You will uplift her. You will be her greatest cheerleader. There are people who are so proud, so egotistical, that they don't ever praise their spouses when they're doing right. When others praise them, they should keep quiet. They never say, oh, you're looking so beautiful today. Hi. As we were saying, praise. Praise doesn't have to be a huge gesture, just a matter of thank you is a praise. Thank you for ABC is praise. I don't know how you do it. That's praise. I wouldn't be able to do this if I were in your shoes. That is praise. There's an husband who, after he watched his wife give birth, is like, well, that woman is strong. I can not imagine going through that. And he just went on and on that, she is so beautiful. How could she do such a wonderful thing? And life and giving life is amazing. He was in awe. I've seen other men just like that as well. There's a young man who actually had to jump in because the nurses were being really, really, what do you call it? They weren't helping. They were not helping at all. They were slow to help. So he ended up having to guide them through the process. Thankfully, he'd been there once before, so he knew. But he was the one who was holding her leg and he was encouraging her. And the point is, he was the one who was telling the birth story. The birth story is usually the women. They're the ones who are just touched by the actual process. But he took so much pride in what his wife had done and the whole experience that he was bursting to tell us about it. That also is praise. Talking about her strength is praise. Talking about her patience is praise. May her husband praise her. One, because she is praiseworthy, and two, because he is selfless and doesn't only want to receive praise, but will also make sure that his wife knows that she is praiseworthy in his eyes. One of the main reasons women or wives commit adultery is because of lack of affection and attention, lack of love. That's why most women, not all, that's why most women stray, because they're seeking that validation, that love. Men just generally just stray because there's an opportunity to do so, generally. So it's important not only to keep her from straying, but because God wants you to do that. That's what a godly husband does. We talk about Proverbs 31 and how wonderful she is, but the children also acknowledge how their mother is like. Are you acknowledging your mother? Are you praising her efforts? Is she a good mother, obviously? And if she is, does she know that? Does she know you appreciate all her thoughts, her prayers, her worries, the things she does for you? It's all about, it's family, Adventist hope, not Adventist couples. So yes, it also does come down to the children as well. Going to 47.1. Before giving her hand in marriage, every woman should inquire whether he with whom she is about to unite her destiny is worthy. What has been his past record? Again, this is why online dating, it can work for people who are into it, but this is one of the pitfalls. You don't know their past record. We don't know their past record. All we know is who they are pretending to be. Same with dating someone who comes from a different country and comes into your country. You don't know their past record. You don't know what they were like back home. It is so important, and those are red flags. If he cheated on 3 other girlfriends, you're not any special. Believe me, you are not going to be the one who makes him faithful. Stay away. What has he been like? Has he been flirtatious? Has he repented? If he hasn't repented, if he hasn't seen that whatever he was like in the past, which was wrong, is wrong, stay away. He's not yet open to correction from God, and he definitely therefore will not be open to correction from you. Stay away. Look at his past record. Is his life pure? We can hold a whole seminar on the word pure. Purity. Are his tastes pure? Is what he listens to pure? Is what he watches pure? Is how he speaks pure? is how he interacts with other people. It's a lot of it. And here we're talking about before giving her hand. So I will speak only on the woman's side. Is he pure? We have been programmed, many of us, to accept less than. Stop. Don't follow our mothers. Our generation was, my mother used to tell me, well, as long as he's Adventist, even if he has one leg, one eye, and you don't feel like marrying him, that's okay. As long as he's Adventist, you must marry him. That's not a recipe. That's a recipe for disaster. It's not a recipe for a happy marriage, unless you also happen to be attracted to him, to love him. We read earlier on that she must love him. God doesn't say you must just tick off, and if it fits all the boxes except the fact that you don't feel anything, then you must go ahead. You must still love him. And is he pure? Is his record pure? What we have done is we settle for less than, oh, he will change. Or we've been brainwashed by our mothers. Many African mothers tell their daughters, and aunts tell the same person, you know, he's going to cheat. Just be ready for it. We are so resigned to being mistreated, to being unloved, to being second best to him. Because adultery is all about ego, lack of self-control, and not letting God be in charge. If God is in charge, the wife and him will be one, and there can be no third. They are already one. They are complete in each other. But we have been programmed to accept less than. There's this thing in isiZulu, begezela. Begezela ntombi. Just keep being patient. And it also culminated in the word umabuyeke. Umabuye kwendeni. Umabuye kwendeni is a wife who has escaped a horrible marriage, and that's the name they give her, but it's in a pejorative sense. It has a negative connotation if she dares to leave her husband. Oh, she couldn't keep the house. But if he goes around messing around, whatever. That's what men are. We are better than that. We are princesses. We are princesses, and our Father is God. We deserve the same kind of honor and respect that God deserves. We deserve it also from our partners to be. Is the love which he expresses of a noble, elevated character, or is it a mere emotional fondness? We will tell if it's elevated by how he, things like, I want to be pure. I want us to follow God's will. I want us to be chaste until the day we get married. Does he mock that? Does he make fun of it? Or does he accept it and say, well, so do I? If he loves you truly, he will love you for who you are, not what you can do. And who you are is a godly young woman or old woman. Marriage can happen anytime. And that's what he wants. But if it's just mere emotional fondness, you can tell there's a difference. There's a difference. He won't treat you in a manner different to the way he treats other people, other women. Watch for that. Does he honor you? He should honor you before marriage, not after. He should honor you already. Kept saying, I mentioned this last time, or this time, whichever time, about Mwanzo Musetti that we all knew. He has a girlfriend back home and his heart is for her. He loved her. And so nothing could dissuade him from his pursuing of her. Everything he was doing, all his studies, he wanted to finish so he can go back to her. Has he the traits of character that will make her happy? Can she find true peace and joy in his affection? That is really, it's one of those failings I had. I didn't know these questions. And I can honestly tell you, I didn't find true peace and joy because my husband was a flirt. He was all over. I even used to say to him, people won't even tell that I'm your girlfriend. And it is a dangerous thing to follow through with a relationship like that. One piece of paper, one vow before a human is not going to change a person's heart. If the heart has already not been changed, don't expect it to change just because you signed a certificate. Watch out. Whatever is causing you pain, really take note of it, pray over it, seek the wisdom of older and neutral parties. What I stupidly did was to ask his brother a question. Unfortunately, not all families are noble. And his brother pretended I didn't ask the question because he wasn't with me. I texted to say, what's happening here? And he never answered. But, yeah. So, make sure that he will make you happy. There is a love bombing that happens with some narcissists where they will love bomb you, but there's still a red flag. There's still something that's wrong. They're still controlling in some way. There's something that's off. Listen to that. That little off is going to become a huge thing when you're now stuck together for life. Listen to it. Hear it. Will she be allowed to preserve her individuality, or must her judgment and conscience be surrendered to the control of her husband? Can she honor the Savior's claims as supreme? These are again shades of my other statement where you ask yourself, is he encouraging you to be more transformed, more reformed, or is he getting in the way and saying, this is too much, my kind of girl is less like you, so you must become less than. Step away from God's standard, come to mine. Watch out for that. And her judgment and conscience, that is her relationship with God. Again, which I alluded to already. I have a friend, she is single by choice, not because she chooses to be single, but because she has not yet found a man worthy of her. She has not yet found a man who is worthy in the sense of God saying, this is one I would approve of. One sent her picture saying, okay, but would you be willing to maybe shorten your skirt? Maybe let go of the head covering. That's not how true principled love works. True principled love accepts the covering because it knows that the heart then is really, really molded to God and what she has judged the Bible and the spirit of prophecy to lead her to. He will, in fact, praise her even more. Will body and soul, thoughts and purposes be preserved pure and holy? These questions have a vital bearing upon the well-being of every woman who enters the marriage relation. Some of these questions I don't think we can really know until we are already there, married, because as I said, people do put on their cloaks and they cover who they really are. As I said to the same young lady who's single because not the wrong man keeps coming, the problem is with us is as Christians, as it ought to be, we don't live together. So we're not there with the person 24/7. We don't know when because people can't keep up their performance 24/7, 7 days a week. They will slip. But if you're not with them at the moment they slip, then you won't know. They're not going to tell you that they, flipped off someone or they cussed at someone. They won't tell you that. Whereas if you live with them first, which I'm not advocating at all, my point is the world there has an advantage on us because they really get to see the person in the morning, at night, in the evening. What are they doing in the evening? What are they watching in the evening? You don't know because you spend time with them in the nature garden or up the mountain and then you go home. It's sad. It is sad. What is sad is that the devil has taken what should work out perfectly for us so that marriage is special. He's made it into something that he has changed what should be protective towards us and for us, and it makes the marriage really sanctified and holy. And he has enabled his evil to then also make it a negative. He's twisted it. What should preserve us, it actually now fails us because we don't see each other. We don't see the kinds of friends, even as a man, you don't see the kind of friends your wife hangs out with in that 2-hour period that you're together chastely out in public or with the chaperone. That's what some people are quoting. So that they never are tempted to do what they shouldn't do. But in that setting, you don't see the real woman. (47.2) Let the woman who desires a peaceful, happy union, who would escape future misery and sorrow, inquire before she yields her affections. Has my lover a mother? What is the stamp of her character? I'm just going to stop there. It does talk about, does he recognize his obligations to her, and that's good. But amongst us Africans, everyone, most men, all men, I don't actually know any man who doesn't recognize his obligations to his mother. So I want to make it relevant to our situation here, our lived situation. And our lived situation is, oh boy, our husbands very, very surely recognize not only their obligations, but even things they're not obligated to do. That is what happens with all of them. All recognize their obligations. Only a few stop at what I'm obligated to do. You are your own person. I am my own person. We are individuals. And now I'm working towards building my family. You are not my family. You are my mother, but this is my unit. And so the problem is that doesn't really happen in culture. In fact, there's a culture where when the child is born, it must go to the husband's mother for the husband's mother to raise. No way. No, because what is the stamp of her character? I will emphasize this because it has a huge impact. There are two kinds of people. We are all sinners. Some of us continue sinning, and some of us continue sinning openly. I will talk of a specific example, which I know it happens everywhere. Well, it happens everywhere, where the son has a huge admiration for the mother. Oh, she's perfect. They even call her the queen. The queen. Don't marry any man who calls his mother the queen, because then you will always be the serf. And despite the stamp of her character, they still respect her and honor her, even though she actually does not deserve respect, but only a lot of prayer, a lot of forgiveness, and a lot of sermonizing. That is the problem. So yes, is he recognizing his obligations, but what is he giving? How much time is he giving, and to what kind of person? Secondly, if she is this evil person who's immoral, does he recognize that she is immoral? Or does he blind himself to the fact that she is a continuous sinner? I know two men. This is about the father now, but believe me, it's applicable to many women who are actually immoral. I mean, men cheat with women. So there are women who are just as immoral as men. There are two people I'll talk about. One, I know, he is very clear. My father is a philanderer. I hope I never become like him. I have vowed to myself that I will be a better husband. The other man, my father had 26 children. I love my father. Oh, I love my father, and I love my parent, and my mother is... And they never say, my mother actually can't control herself. Right now, she's sleeping with a married man. Like that. That is dangerous. People are flawed, yes. But how do the prospective husbands act and react to the flawed natures of their parents? Do they accept the sinful character, or do they bemoan it? By silence, that means they will emulate that character. Whereas the one who says, I don't ever want to be, is already prayerfully fighting the inherited traits in his nature that might have come from his father. Look for the person who is fighting against the bad background he comes from. Look for the person who dislikes the actions of the evil parent, be it mother or father. I know a man whose mother is, like the man himself would say, she was abusive. She is abusive. She's not kind. She's not loving. But his wife is still meant to worship his mother. The mother will not, and he never expects the mother to apologize. He never calls her out for her wrong. She is the queen. Stay away. I told you, red flags. Stay away from anyone who worships the queen. Another guy I knew, he used to praise how well his mother sings. Oh, my mother sings beautifully. My mother sings beautifully. We heard the mother. She cannot sing. She sounds like a drowning cat. No offense to cats. The level of delusion that would make a boy think that his mom is so perfect when she's actually 100% imperfect is scary. Don't marry that kind of man. Do not marry a deluded man. If he even is so blind that he can't even tell that she sings off tune, because he worships her that much, she will always be the center of his affection. She will hold his heart, and you will just have a little crumb. And believe me, you will not like that. You will be miserable. Because if she is immoral and evil and unkind and unloving, she will be like that towards you. And then you will live in a very miserable and lonely married life. I pray, I'm begging you, look at the stamp of her character. Really look at it. Again, can you do that if you don't know her? If she's in another country and you've got this online situation, do you know the stamp of her character? Or will you also know the whitewashed version? Look for the man who is aware of what God desires the parent to be, and who is so aware either that their parent really is what God wants them to be, or if they're not, is very aware of it and does not want to continue the generational curse. Look for that man. That man is worth praying about. 47.3. Let a young woman accept as a life companion only one who possesses pure, manly traits of character, one who is diligent, aspiring, and honest, one who loves and fears God. Again, a very personal point here. I wish I could write this and put it in every girl's wardrobe or in front of their mirror or in their bathroom, because this really needs to be thought of when you're considering who to marry. Pure, manly traits, like a true man of God, not a man about town, a true man of God, pure, dignified, reserved, rather staying away from the ladies. That kind of person. Honest. There's a girl I know who, her boyfriend told her, can you please deliver this at the post office? And he had told her so many times, oh, I've got this girlfriend, and look at my album, and it was full of girls. It was in varsity, full of girls from his town and university. We have people from everywhere. And he said, oh, that girl is pretty. I'll never forget her name, because we were all like, oh, Sophie's pretty. Sophie's the pretty one. But he never told her that she's pretty. Red flag already. If he's so quick and able to compliment other women, but not you, and he's trying to woo you, it's a problem. Stay away. So yes, he was a bit like that type of person. And then he asked her to go and post a letter. She was dishonest and opened it first because she's, well, I guess, I don't know. If you're being a detective, is that being honest? Is that being wise as a serpent? So she opened the letter and boom. Hey, dear Bege, I really miss you. I love you. I want to kiss your lips. She should have run. But we grew up in a culture where you're told forgive, and that means keep the relationship intact the way it is. And I'm telling you now, forgiveness doesn't mean that. Forgiveness is, I forgive you, go in peace. You are my brother from another mother. Go and find your woman. I'm not going to be it, but I will not harbor any bitterness. I will not harbor any anger. I've learned a lesson. And then you split up. She accepted. She read it and she's like, who in the world is this Beke? You told me Beke was an ex-girlfriend. Now you're telling me, you're making me, you know, there's a, yeah. So yes, she dumped him. And then he cried, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And then she took him back. We should have all just said no. Instead, we were all supportive. He's sorry, he's sorry. The pattern continued one more time that she knew of, and we all assumed that the repentance was genuine. It was, we guess, but even through their marriage, he was still the same flirty person, made her uncomfortable, he didn't care. And then she found out years later, she found out that he was being unfaithful. And the way we can all say, we knew it. A leopard, in this case, this leopard hasn't changed its spots. Someone who's a repeat offender before marriage will not change just because they're now married. It needs to be a heart thing, and your heart doesn't change the day you're standing in front of a pastor. Because after all, God sees you. God sees you before you're married. God sees you after you're married. And God doesn't want you to be hurting people, lying, and being dishonest. And if you're fine being dishonest before God's eyes, before marriage, you will be fine being dishonest after marriage. And it hurts. It hurts because we can all say, wow, we knew it. She shouldn't have taken him back. She should not have taken him back. Shun those who are irreverent. Shun one who is a lover of idleness. Shun one who is a lover of idleness. Shun the one who is a scoffer of hallowed things. That's one of the people my friend has just gotten rid of. A scoffer of hallowed things. Avoid the society of one who uses profane language or is addicted to the use of even one glass of liquor. Listen not to the proposals of a man who has no realization of his responsibility to God, and I'm going to add, because he's living for himself. If God and God alone are not his chief motive, his chief inspiration, run away. Run away. 48.2. Even if an engagement has been entered into without a full understanding of the character of the one with whom you intend to unite, do not think that the engagement makes it a positive necessity for you to take upon yourself the marriage vow and link yourself for life to one whom you cannot love and respect. Be very careful how you enter into conditional engagements. Don't get engaged to someone who's not good enough anyway. But better, far better, break the engagement before marriage than separate afterward, as many do. I had a sad case. I knew more the man. I knew the man. I knew he was dating this girl, and we all thought they were going to get married. And the next thing we know, she's sitting in an evening worship and she's crying and crying. Bitter, bitter tears. And this boyfriend of hers, who we all thought was totally in love with her, he had cheated. And that's what I mean, guys. He really loved her. They seemed so suited, and she was perfect. She was humble. She was a real Musutu girl, very humble, loving, respectful, and she wasn't one of those like to flirt kind of girls. She kept to herself. She was what I would say God would want a girl to be. She didn't even dress flashy. She was calm and modest and loved him with all her heart. For her not to be even able to hide her heartbreak in a group of us. Oh, but she dodged a bullet because she stayed firm. It's over. He went on to go now and find a girl in a different province. And she didn't know him like we knew him. He love bombed her to "you're perfect," which she stopped doing after they got married. And so she fell for him. And then 2 days before their marriage, she found out that he'd gotten into bed with someone else, a colleague. But she felt she had to continue. And of course, there were the usual, no, nothing happened. It was a lie. Nothing happened. I'm sorry. It was a mistake. I was just not sure that we should get married, but now I'm very sure. Whatever lies he gave, she believed. And it is so hard to cancel a wedding, but do it anyway. If you are in that situation, because she went ahead with the wedding because of the pressure, she didn't feel in love with him anymore. She had stayed a virgin because he said he wants to be a virgin, but then he's sleeping with someone else. But the force, the pressure, especially with our African weddings where the whole church gets involved, and it's a big thing. It is a big thing. The whole church is wishing you well. The whole church is giving you gifts. There's a specific day where the whole church comes and they're singing and giving gifts and advising. It's a big thing to get married in South Africa and many other places, I'm sure. But this is big. So there's so much pressure on her shoulders, and she was young. I don't blame her at all. And so she went ahead and married him. A few years later, we visit. He visits us in the UK. We finally meet the girl because she was not amongst us. So we meet her. She was pregnant and she later gave birth. I went to visit them in their city in the UK, and I'm helping with the little baby. And she starts telling me. That's what she told me about what happened before the marriage, before the wedding, and after the wedding, and how it's continued to be not only an adulterer, but also a wife beater. I didn't know what to do. He came in after work and I just looked at him and I thought, how could you be such a disappointment? I believed her 100%. I mean, his own social media, it bears it out. I'm sad. I wish we could counsel more girls that even as parents, even if we've paid for the wedding, we must tell our girls, even if it's the night of the wedding, if there's anything that comes up or anything you remember, I'm willing to lose all the money I paid rather than to see you living a miserable marriage. I think that's also a message we need to give our daughters. We need to tell our daughters that we will never pressure them into keeping a promise if the promise is to someone who doesn't deserve the promise. You may say, but I've given my promise, and shall I now retract it? I answer, if you have made a promise contrary to the scriptures, by all means retract it without delay, and in humility before God, repent of the infatuation that led you to make so rash a pledge. When you are being love bombed, you ignore the red flags. They are there. She had red flags. She's done a whole channel also on their now divorce. The red flags were there, but he was too loving, too attentive for a while. And it caused an infatuation. She never actually got to learn his character, not fully. So she made a promise. Yes, I'll marry you. But, God, I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking at what you've taught me. And honestly, some of us don't know. So in that case, I mean, here she's writing to a woman who knew what the counsels were. But the rest of us, we don't know. And so we don't even have to repent. We just have to ask God to help us fix this terrible trap we're in. Take back the promise. Because if you marry him, you're dishonoring God. Marrying someone who God does not say is deserving and worthy of marriage, that is wrong. He shouldn't be married. Not to you, not to anybody. So you are going against God's will. God's will is not for you to marry someone you should not be marrying. God's will is not for you to marry someone who disregards his will. That is not God's will. Again, God's will is not for you to marry someone who disregards his will in any aspect. You may be happy for a while, either because you've compromised, mostly because you've compromised. That is not a marriage founded on God's strong foundation. Eventually, cracks will appear. So, honor God, seek his paths, no matter how difficult or how lonely it will be. Believe me, you'd rather be lonely for a short time than be lonely while married for the rest of your life. Say no. Say no. Let every step toward a marriage alliance be characterized by modesty, simplicity, sincerity, and an earnest purpose to please and honor God. For me, that's the sad thing. All these girls, they were that. They were sincere. They were modest. They were simple. They just wanted to do what was right. But the man, he was a liar. He was artificial. He was a snake. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they didn't know it. I'm telling, that's why I keep telling my friend, rather don't. Rather don't. So I'm asking you men also, come on, just look in your hearts, really look in your heart. Look at your behavior in the light of what God wants you to behave like. Look at your ambitions. What is driving you? And is it what God would want to drive you? Is it what God has impressed upon you? And you will know what God has impressed upon you based on his word, not according to what you think, not according to your conscience. Your conscience can lead you astray. God will never lead you astray. Check yourself also. And you, as the woman, is my motive really correct? Will we honor God? Will we help each other to reach his standard? And if you don't think so, break it off also. Save the other partner or other party a life of misery and woe. Just do the right thing just once. If you're a man who likes to flirt, you will be still. If you're a man who likes to flirt, you will still be able to flirt, whether you're married to her or not. So break it off. Marriage affects the afterlife, both in this world and in the world to come. And then a line which emphasizes what I said above before. A sincere Christian will make no plans that God cannot approve. And that is something we should take for our entire lives, not only in the home, not only regarding making a home, building a home, but a sincere Christian in every aspect of their life will make no plan that God does not approve. What am I about to do? Does God approve it? Does God approve of the time I'm about to spend? Am I using the time I'm about to spend wisely? The money I'm about to spend, am I using it wisely? Does God approve? All of that, not only regarding marriage. If you are a sincere Christian, and if the person you are thinking of is a sincere Christian, none of their plans will be plans they cannot pray for God's blessing upon. Translate the last part written in isiXhosa. It means that some things you should not ever hurry, you shouldn't rush them, you should wait. And it is extremely important to allow God to be the one who is giving you that gift. It needs to come from him. Wait. The Bible also says so. Wait upon the Lord. emphasize, you use the word tu. It means not at all. May we ponder this, pray about it, and pray for each other. See you next week.